Welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay, and we're doing another shop class, hot rod shop class. Excited to have you here. They seem to be of some interest, so we'll continue. Today we're going to venture into the shop to say, what do I need to work on my car besides the basic tools that we've actually reviewed in the last few. So we've looked at some of the hand tools, some sockets, some kind of miscellaneous things that will help you work on your car or other things that you're doing. And now I think the next thing to really look at is to look at some of those peripheral items that are necessities if you're going to mess with old vehicles. And that is, we're going to take a peek at some jacks and some jack stands. People don't talk about them. It's a non-issue. It's no big deal. But honestly, it actually is a big deal. And I've been messing with these old cars my whole life. And there are a few things you want to be really careful and make sure that you have taken care of so that you can continue having fun in this hobby. So I'm going to show you some options for both jacks and jack stands, what to look out for, and hopefully it will trigger kind of maybe I need to upgrade some of my stuff that I'm using, or maybe I've been really smart and I've gotten way ahead of the curve and I have really good stuff in this space. Again, as the theme for most of this, it isn't necessarily about the money. It's about making sure that you get the right piece, and they're available in all price ranges. So let's take a look. We're going to take a look at jack stands first because there are a few that are probably pretty affordable, and I would say most people, when they're kind of entering into the hobby, gravitate toward. And I'll kind of share the pros and cons and what to look for and kind of some of the solutions I put in place. So the very first one is this stamped steel with a cast iron extension that goes up, lets it get pretty high. I personally think these do a pretty good job. I've got a slew of them in the shop. Most of the stuff I work on is not in the super heavy duty truck category, although you've seen some videos on an F5. These, I think, have stood the test of time working on your typical passenger car, hot roddy type thing. Pretty affordable. You can, these are probably 10 years old, if not more. I'm guessing lots of different companies make them. They're probably all made in China by the same company and painted different colors and put different names get slapped on them. But for what's available now, these are a pretty good solution. They have a pretty wide base and they work pretty well. There is a version that these sort of replaced that were from 30 years ago that were stamped steel, kind of tubular looking, quite light, with a tubular upper component. Those are still out there and they're readily available at yard sales and swap meets. They do work. I think you just want to pay attention to how thick is the steel, and are you going to be on a really good flat floor, and kind of factor some of that in. They do collapse from time to time when the load isn't centered exactly on them because they're 3 legs. I do have some. I didn't grab them down. I don't use them anymore. I would probably use them on something that I was putting in the corner that didn't have wheels, that I just needed it off the ground. But I use these for the most part now. Okay, that is the first one. Great for concrete floors, flat floors. Be careful anytime you're putting them on asphalt. If you're going to put it on asphalt, I would say put a sheet of plywood underneath it to put the load around something other than these little feet, because they'll just soak into the asphalt. Okay, the next one is totally homegrown. So I've had these, I've got 4 of these. For a long time, I worked out in the dirt. I didn't have a concrete floor. I didn't have any of that. And I needed something that was going to work and keep me safe in the dirt. So my dad built a set of these out of car wheels with a thick, heavy upright pipe and another thick, heavy riser that goes down inside. Nothing exotic about these, nothing expensive around these. They have a big X in the bottom to make sure they're all stable. These, something like this is what I would recommend if you are working in the dirt. If you're working in your backyard, the ground's not real even, this is what I would recommend. If back in the day, the wrecking yards used to use a wheel like this with a wheel on top, and they would put the cars up in the air on those. They're not adjustable though. Super crude, but in the end, the win around having this big diameter bottom is that it doesn't fall over. So I never had a car slide off of this. I never had anything get scary. Super strong, super stable, not light, heavy as all get out, hard to lug around, big to move anywhere. Lots of negatives for people nowadays, what they're looking for. But the one thing it does really well is it keeps you from getting crushed by your old car. So that is the homemade version. That is kind of the touch that I will make on jack stands. Pretty basic. If you have some other, or you don't use a jack stand, please change that. Get some decent jack stands and keep yourself safe. There are people around you that want to see you around. Okay, I'm going to look at some floor jacks. I will look at the littlest, smallest floor jack I have first, because I hope that you guys are not using this in your shop every day. So this is a floor jack. It's an import. It comes in usually comes in a carrying case of some kind. Oftentimes when you find them at a swap meet or something, the carrying case is long gone. These are little import jacks. The only thing I use this for is I have it in the trunk. I have a couple of these. I bought them cheap. I bought this one new and it was cheap. I bought them used and they're super cheap. Just look to make sure that they're not leaking around here in this area. Just look to make sure there's not oil running out. If there's not oil running out and they jack up fine when you test them at a swap meet, you should be good. These look really good when you're broke down on the side of the road and you need to fix a flat tire. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend them. The lift is really short, so this shaft right here is short, so they're not going to get very high. They're not very stable. They're not very thick. Everything about them says light duty. They're better than a scissor jack, and they're usually low enough to get into your hot rod. So use it accordingly. They're great to haul with you when you go to a U-pull-it place, because they're a little bit lighter and you can jack up a transmission a little bit to get something out or things of that nature, or to get wheels and tires off. I would not recommend using this in the shop as a daily jack. It's just too light duty and I don't feel safe enough with the Chinese import, barely functional kind of parts. It doesn't leak, and hopefully it won't start after I just said all those bad things about it. It has a great purpose, and that is it's going to be good in the back of your hot rod truck or your street rod or hot rod when you're going to do a little road trip. So it has its place. All right, that's a jack, couple jack stands. Now I'm going to flip you around and we're going to actually look at a couple floor jacks. So I'm going to show you 3 larger floor jacks, something that would or could function in your garage or carport or wherever you might be that you're working on some car project. And they each have their pros and cons, and we'll just kind of walk through each one of them. So the first one that we're looking at, the little blue one, is a 2-ton. It is a Sears. It is probably 70s vintage. I found this one. My brother-in-law gave it to me. He said he found it in the alley behind his house. He thought I might want it. He's not really a car person, but he knows that I am, and I said sure. And it didn't work. And so I took it to a local jack repair shop and asked them if they could fix it because I had nothing into it. And they were able to put a kit in it for about 50 bucks. The thing, I wasn't really too hip on this jack. It's a little bit smaller right here. In this area right here, it's a little bit shorter than the other 2 we'll look at, but it's super beefy everywhere else. And after talking to him, he said that they are a really good little jack, quite dependable. They don't leak very often, and he was very supportive of spending a little bit of money on it to make it work. It has proven to be exactly what he said. It doesn't leak at all. It works well. It's a little bit lighter just because it's just a touch smaller, but it's not flimsy at all. If you see one of those, and they come up on Marketplace and Craigslist and those kinds of places periodically, it's a good option. Don't pay a bunch for it, but it's a good option to get a decent jack out in your garage. I use it a lot. I mean, you're never going to get into a car with just a jack, and it works good. It pumps up nice. Nice solution. It is made in Japan, but the parts still seem to be available, and so that's kind of option 2, or option 1. Option 2 is next to it, and it is a vintage jack. And if you follow the channel, you know I'm a sucker for anything vintage, and I thought, wouldn't that be cool to have a vintage Hein Warner jack in the shop? I've worked at shops that had Hein Warners. They always worked well. In their day, they were a good brand and a good brand reputation. So I found this one on, I think, Craigslist, and I went and I bought it, and it was old and dilapidated and didn't work, and I should have passed on it. I think I spent 80 bucks on it. I took it to the same jack guy, and we spent a year trying to get it to work and stop leaking. It was worn out. And the problem with these old jacks like this that are from the 50s, 60s, 70s, they were really good, but they're not around anymore, and you can't get parts, and you can't get replacement parts for the wear items. The seal was still available. It wasn't very good, the quality. It works. I ended up having the pump piece, the pump component was replaced. Dwayne at the jack place I went to was able to source another one out of another junk jack that they weren't going to fix, but it still leaks just a little bit, and that drives me crazy. And it works really well, but you have to make sure it's full of oil if you haven't used it for a couple months. And so I rarely go to it, but it is a cool jack. My advice is don't get something, don't play in the vintage area on something like this unless you're prepared to mess with it a lot. Get something a little bit newer and you'll be much happier with it. Let's look at the third jack. The third jack is beefier than the other two. It has approximately the same lift as the Hein Warner. It is heavy and it's built, it's reminiscent of a snap-on jack in the rail, the way the rail's made at the bottom. It's plenty strong, plenty durable, has wide tires on it, and it works quite well. It is a Costco jack. It was one I bought in desperation. I had a vintage Weaver, and the main seal ruptured and I couldn't get the parts and I needed a jack. I had a car in the shop. So I bought it at Costco. I've probably had it for 20 years now. It was plenty affordable. You know, Costco stuff has a good price point usually. And it's worked well. It's heavy. It's hard to lug around. You're not going to want to put it in the back of your truck because it's a pain to lift. But it does work well. And it's a good, solid, safe jack in that it's not extra thin. It doesn't wobble. It doesn't flex. It's beefy. It's not cast like the Hein Warner. It is steel welded together. Just a different kind of solution. It works well. It's good for out in the shop. It's just heavy. So it has its downsides, but again, it'll basically keep you safe as you're jacking stuff up. It doesn't have any bad habits. As we look at the three jacks, they all have their pros and cons. Basically, think about the jack you're using. It is a tool that makes it a little more enjoyable when you have a decent one. And there's three options that you can at least kick around in your head to decide, do I have something that I'm happy with, or am I going to look and see what else is out there? There are lots of jacks on both Craigslist and Marketplace for under $100. You can buy. Be careful of buying something because it's a snap-on. Snap-on isn't going to make the jack. It's going to be made by someone else. So just be careful of buying a name and not the product. I love the snap-on stuff, but a lot of these kinds of things, you're going to want to actually look at who manufactured the jack and kind of go from there. I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors, and we'll see you on the next project.